Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Copy Closer podcast. Today, we've got an amazing guest for you, Julie Hassett. Hassett, did I pronounce that correctly?
That's correct. Yes.
I was hoping so. So this is someone that I've recently started, I guess, kind of looking up and finding. And every time I see someone that's a copy chief at a really cool company, you know they can write copy, but there's a lot of other things that I think go into becoming a copy chief that I really want to dive into. So, Julie, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, you're welcome. And that is definitely a topic I can speak to, because I tell you, when I decided to become copy chief here, I did not know how much was involved in being a copy chief. So I have learned so much. And I really thought it was just being a copywriter who then looks at other people's copywriting work, and it's so much more.
Well, that's what I'm excited to kind of go into. But I think before we do, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, your story? How'd you get into copywriting? And let's just start with that.
Yeah, for sure. So my background is it's very varied, which I feel like a lot of copywriters are. We're all like a bunch of weirdos who tried like 100 different things, and we're like, I think I could do this. So man, I graduated with a theater degree. I was an actress in my 20s, and then randomly happened upon a brokerage firm where I used to deliver food to as my sort of actor job. And I ended up working at this brokerage firm as a receptionist. I got my trading licenses. I worked there for probably 7 years on a retail brokerage team, and then in the institutional side. And then one day I was in an elevator going up to work. I had to be in my chair by 5:30 every morning, which I hated. I absolutely hated. And there was
5:30 in the morning. Oh my!
5:30 in the morning. Yeah, because we were in LA and we had to be there when the market opened, and we had to do a bunch of work before the market opened. So I saw this television screen in the elevator, and it said copywriters earn $100,000 a year working from home. And I was like, I would like that. And I always wanted to work from home. It was like this back then, which was only like, God, 7-8 years ago. I don't remember what it was. I mean, working from home was like really an anomaly. And I really wanted it so bad. So that was like, that lit the fire. From there, I started studying copywriting. And because I had the financial background, that's just sort of where I gravitated. And the people that I met were in the financial publishing industry. And so I started working mostly with Agora Companies right away, just like writing full length promos, like from day one, which we can talk about. I feel like that's changed a lot. And yeah, from there, I mean, I've just been at Agora Companies. And then I did a stint with a company called My Wall Street, headquartered in Ireland. And I was their director of copywriting and sales. And that was really fun because it was such a break from what I was used to. And then found my way now back to Tradesmith, which is a MarketWise company, and where I'm copy chief.
Wow. Okay. So that's an amazing story. The fact that you started writing full promos right from the beginning, that shocks me. I feel like a lot of people nowadays that I found are just kind of starting with Agora. They usually start with like emails or something like that.
Yeah. It's not the way it used to work. It was like, I mean, it was funny. Like the first time, like I just started, I did some spec work though, which were all like full length promos, which were the things that got passed around and sort of people started seeing what I was writing. So I feel like there was this idea that like, oh, she knows how to write full length promos, even though it was just purely like spec work that I was just like having fun writing. And, but yeah, my first assignment was to like write a front end package. I was like, okay, we never finished it because my copy chief was a perfectionist, and so we never finished it. But still, yeah, that was my first assignment. And you're right, like it's so interesting now. I get so many emails from people that are like, hi, I write short form copy and I'd love to, do that for you. And we have hired one person to do that. But like beyond that, I'm just like, can you write a whole package? And we have actually hired some people who were like, I only write short form. And I'm like, yeah, but can you write a package? And they're like, yeah. So I was like, all right, try it.
Wow. So when you're hiring copy, because there's a lot of people that will listen to this, we have some business owners that are using marketing and copy to grow their business, but we also have a good audience of actual copywriters. So I'm sure some of the copywriters listening to this have probably like cold emailed you trying to get some business. what are some of the things that you look for when you're hiring a copywriter now?
Yeah, I'm always looking for samples and results. And I know for some people, they're just like, I don't have that, right? Like I have these, I want like to see a full package. I want to know how it did. And that is only because my personal, like I don't have a lot of time right now to train people up from the beginning. And I wish I did, but I just don't. And we don't have the resources to take someone to where they need to be right now. And so I feel like I'm doing a disservice to someone who is needs that hand holding, because I totally needed that hand holding. And so generally at this point, I'm definitely looking for somebody who has results. But I had some guy, I was like, no, thanks. It's not a fit right now. And then like, I didn't hear from him for a while. And then he like replied, and basically his next email to me was a fully written promo. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, I was like, is that your first financial promo? And he's like, yep. And I was like, well, that's pretty good. And I did end up hiring him.
Wow.
Yeah, it didn't work out. But
You got his foot in the door. That's amazing.
Exactly. Like he got his shot for sure. So it's really like, if I can see that you can write and you are like a creative thinker, and that kind of piques my interest.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned also I guess you had some spec work that you had done. And I think a lot of copywriters sometimes feel weird trying to do this free work and then hand in free work. But it sounds like at least that's something that's going to get your foot in the door, just like it did with this person.
Yeah, whenever I hear like, oh, don't work for free, like it's like I would not be where I am today if I had not just written for free all the time. And I don't mean like I was working for like crappy clients who are asking me to do work for free. Like that is not it at all. I was writing stuff for clients that I wanted to work for as a way to like show them what I could do. And I mean, how else was anybody supposed to know what my skills were if I didn't have any of that? So especially if you're interested in financial copy, like I definitely encourage, and you don't have samples, like write your own spec work. There are so many different like coaches out there that you can work with who can just help you get something under your belt. And that's what I did. And I mean, really, if I hadn't had those to pass around as an attachment in an email, like I think people wouldn't have taken me as seriously. And I don't know, I wouldn't be where I am right now.
Wow. So what have you noticed? Because you've been in the game for a little bit now, and I'm sure, seen the transition, at least from my eyes, because I don't really work too much in the financial space, but I've seen that there seems to be like a shift. Like there used to be a lot of stock teases, and then there was like a bunch of like system type things that were working. Is that like, what do you see right now that's kind of working, at least in that space?
Yeah, it's interesting because the market is so weird right now that I still think that both of those things are working. They both of them still do. I mean, I work for Tradesmith, which we sell more software and research tools. So we're a little bit different. We're kind of an anomaly. But I definitely still see single stock picks. So we tend toward a little bit more towards systems and trading promos. So, what was working for a while, like just a little bit ago, was like all crypto NFT stuff, right? Like, I mean, it was just like when companies were adding like blockchain to their names and their stock would rise, it was like, just make this promo about crypto and people will buy it. And it felt like that for a while. And now like crypto's tanking. So the market is so much crazier than ever right now. It's like, you write a lift note on Monday and by Friday, you're like, that lift note doesn't make sense anymore. Yeah. Like I used to be able to write 5 lifts at a time for a campaign. And now I'm, pissing the marketing team off all the time because I'm like, I need to write a new lift for tomorrow. Like yesterday's just, it doesn't make sense. Like just give me time. I need to write a new lift. So I just feel like there's so much more happening on the fly. And, one thing that I am very interested in pursuing is less, this is difficult in our regulated environment, but like less scripted stuff and more improvised, on the spot, authentic talking between 2 people or just one person, because I think that more and more, especially as we attempt to skew younger and target younger customers, they are like over this kind of completely canned stuff, right? Like they want to hear like people speaking authentically because they're used to seeing that. And so I am really trying to go more towards that direction where you're just working kind of from an outline and from ideas, and hopefully you get good, smart people on camera who can just talk about it and then transition into a sales pitch. So far, like we're I don't know, we're hobbling along trying to make it work, but like I'm convinced it's gonna work.
No, that's a really good point. I was actually talking to my buddy Joel Irway. He like lives by this. He calls it the podcast model. He sells he's not in the financial space, but he sells like high ticket services. And what he started, and Joel, if you're listening to this, maybe I'm butchering this a little, but from when we spoke, it basically seems like instead of sending people to like a standard VSL like you're speaking about, he'll send them to an interview, kind of like what we're doing right here. And it's like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And I'm just asking the right questions, maybe that lead to a sale. And he's just the expert, almost like the old school infomercials that worked, right?
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I mean, at least for him in his like biz off type space, it's working really well. So you're probably onto something there because I haven't seen.
Yeah. And we noticed, it was interesting. We did a webinar event. It ended up being with the Q&A 90 minutes. Like that's a long time to ask people to sit.
Sure.
But while we were filming it, I was working with Keith. I was hosting, and Keith Kaplan, the CEO, was on. And we were like, at the end, we're like, do you want to just try to improv something really fast? And we're like, yeah, let's give it a try. So we improv this whole thing about the products, where we just spoke from our hearts. Like we both love this product, and we just spoke from our hearts. And we ended up inserting that into the Q&A. And it was crazy, like 90 minutes when this thing ended, 50% of the attendees were still on the webinar, which is nuts. But it was like, there was something that just like gelled where they were like, I'm interested in this. I want to like watch these two people talking. So I think it works.
Yeah. I mean, it also, if it's almost like a pitch camouflage, just content right there, right? I mean, it really makes it more interesting when people are listening to a VSL, especially maybe a younger audience, or not necessarily, this doesn't even necessarily have to be a younger audience, but people who've just seen the same thing over and over and over again. This podcast thing is just like, wow, I'm like watching a YouTube video, because I'm watching YouTube videos, half the day I'm wasting away just watching random stuff. So it will keep you interested for sure. I love that.
Just getting the structure right and making sure that you're still using direct response tactics in it. Like that's the thing. You can get lost in just like speaking about something and you're losing people. You got to keep the open loops, and you have to keep, like all that stuff still has to be there. You just have to sort of, those things have to be embedded in your brain so you remember to do it.
Yeah. And the other thing that, again, credit to my buddy Joel, but he said what he noticed that was working really well is not just when he was able to do I call it performance, his like conversation pitch or whatever, he was really good at that, but he had better results when he was able to get an interviewer that was really savvy with that too, and also talked up the product as they asked questions. So, and I didn't realize that. I was like, oh, you could probably just have any old person interview you and it's all you. But he said the big piece of it is how well the interviewer does. And I thought that was really interesting.
Well, I agree, Joel. I am with you, man.
Well, so this is super cool. When you mentioned about like some of the structure and some of the pieces of these podcasts and things, well, that was actually going to lead me into another question, which is for a lot of the business owners that we have who listen to this, they may not necessarily have a formula or a set structure on how they should present either their VSL or maybe a Facebook ad or something. Do you have any, and this may be a big question or like a broad question, but do you have any kind of formulas or structures that maybe a total beginner can just follow and kind of, cut and paste and try to make stuff work?
Yeah. I don't really anymore, but when I started, I absolutely did, or the way that I would do it was, I had a lot of tools. Like when you're starting out, you have all these learnings. So, I would take like Clayton Makepeace he had a structure, right? I think I've attempted that. Stefan Georgie, whoever, they have like their RMBC method. I've written a promo based on that structure, which I always called that one my opus because I thought it was like so beautiful. And that was based on their structure. So sometimes, honestly, it depends like on what I'm into. Like I remember you can like see the influences of what I've been listening to or reading as you like read my promos. Like one time I was really into story selling. So you just have like stories upon stories. So I don't necessarily stick to any kind of like template necessarily anymore. I kind of do what works, or I'll pull from different things I've studied, or I'll also if I see a promo that I really like and I think is cool, I'll just sort of break it down as a template, as like, oh, what are they doing here? And what are they doing here? And so in a way, I just sort of section it out into like what objectives are they trying to accomplish, or, and then I'll sort of use that maybe as a way to structure my own research and ideas to get it. But I personally do not have my own, 12-point sales letter or anything like that.
Well, I think what you're talking about is actually even better because it's based on what's currently working. Like if you're looking at a VSL or sales page that it's like crushing right now, and you're saying, okay, well, here they injected scarcity and here they did some urgency. I mean, that can create your own template, but it's also training you as a copywriter to become better. So I actually like what you're talking about because it's not necessarily cookie cutter, but it's going to make you a better writer, and it's based on what's working now. So that's super cool.
Yeah. I would
So
say, interestingly, though, as a copy chief, I have such limited time to write my own promos. It's crazy. Like, I can't believe the time limits I've had and what I come up with. And so in these situations where like, I'm forced to do something in very limited time, I'll just write. And like, there's no structure. And I mean, there is, but I feel like it's just sort of coming from just years of practice, like when you're learning, there's this steep learning curve, and like, you never fully get it. You're always learning, but you notice like at some point after you've wanted to give up 20 times and go back to doing whatever you used to do, that like it's just suddenly something clicks and you feel this sort of competency that you didn't feel before. So at least I got past that. And now like, I have a whole nother set of insecurities and stuff, but at least I can like sit down and just write a promo and feel like, not just like super freaked out or like I need to do something the right way.
yeah, well, there's a lot of copywriters that I think have wondered what's the copy chief kind of life look like, because there's some people who I think want that life, but I don't know if they really do. So could you kind of maybe shed some light on what a copy chief does? Because just like what you said, I've noticed in other copy chiefs, they're extremely busy. It's not like they just have like these underlings doing all the work for them.
Totally. Yeah. I'm going to try to stay extremely positive here.
Sure.
I'll try not to make this a bitch fest.
You're good. This is cool because a lot of people, the reason I just asked this, because just not a lot of people ask these questions and get that insight until they're in the position. And I've always wanted to ask someone.
Oh, totally. I'm always like, why didn't you guys tell me?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And so I will say that, copy chiefing, it's up to you, I think, in this and the situation and how large your team is, whether or not you as a copy chief are writing copy or not, right? Like I choose to continue to write copy because that's actually what I really like to do and what I've trained to do. And so if I'm not writing copy, I feel like, oh my God, all these years that I spent getting good at something and now I'm just managing people, it feels weird. So I do continue to write, which can be, like I said, stressful because that always like if you're a parent or whatever, that sometimes your time gets squished because you're taking care of everybody else. And that's definitely what happens, I think, for a lot of copy chiefs who are attempting to write because you are reviewing everybody's stuff. So when I came on, there was a team of 3 copywriters and my job was to grow the copy team. And so I've been at Tradesmith just a little over a year and we're now at 12 copywriters, which is awesome. But
that's a lot of growth.
It's huge growth. And, it was like, again, like I didn't quite know what that growth would mean, for me and for the business, like, then the rest of the company had to grow because it's like, we're putting out new promos every week. And so like, oh my God, we need more marketers and we need more designers and we need video people. And so the company has really exploded. And a lot of that has to do with the growth of the copy team. And so, so in addition, like I do believe that it's important to create a culture because a lot of copywriters are lone wolves. I mean, a lot of people that work for me, with me, are lone wolves, but I do believe in creating a culture, and I believe in creating a space where we're constantly learning and teaching each other. So I try to like basically just design a way that we meet without overwhelming people with meetings, because copywriters uniformly hate meetings. And so, you know, we come together and we learn things every week. The weekly 1% is how we learn to get better at our craft, just like 30 minutes a week. And we like pick a topic, and it's like something that's going to make us all better. We also, I've decided to do like quarterly meetups between the copy team and the telesales and customer service people. So we can all just sit and talk to the people that are talking to our customers every single day, so that they can tell us what they're saying, what they're concerned about, what they like and dislike. And those meetings have been really great too. And so it's like setting up, like, what do you want it to feel like for your copywriters? Like, you know, how many touch points do you want to have with them? You know, I know like some affiliates are like, you know, they meet like crazy. It's like our Monday stand up and our this and our that. And I'm like, that is not how I was raised. Like, you know, people pretty much like, we just did our own thing. So, so there's that. And then, you know, depending on how close you are as a copy chief with, say, whether it's the CEO or the publisher, I mean, you can play an instrumental role in every single major business decision that happens, which I happen to be in that position. So, I mean, anything from, I actually brought on we brought on two new gurus, which is kind of we're moving into more of an editor space. So I introduced both of those people to the company. So you sort of find yourself in that way of like product creation, product development, and then as you're developing the product, how you're going to sell the product. And so, you know, all of that, renaming products, restructuring products, firing people. Like, I mean, it's like it's a lot of stuff. I would say it's maybe like 3 or 4 almost like full-time jobs, right? Because people are copywriters as a full-time job. People like coach copy as a full-time job. People manage as a full-time job, and as a copy chief, you're doing all of those things at once. So it's a lot.
That is so cool. I really like that. Was it called the weekly 1%?
Yeah.
So that's where you guys focus on improving the actual skill, improving your copy.
It's like, hey, let's talk about, gosh, I don't know, bullets this week, or let's talk about the pieces of a hot list launch webinar and why we do them this week, and you know, that kind of thing. It's always some topics. Like we did the hot list webinar today. Next week we're going to have someone do something on just making our lift notes better, lift notes masterclass, that kind of thing. So yeah.
Gosh, you guys could almost spin off and do another, like a copy course.
Yes. Yeah, I know. I think about that. I'm like, we're recording all these. We could sell it.
Oh my gosh. I mean, even that, or just like onboarding for new copywriters.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I don't see enough companies doing that. Maybe that's a standard thing in the financial copy world. I don't know, but I don't see a lot of like actual copy training with current copywriters. They're usually just expected to already know how to do their job. You get better at your stuff and you know, give us the work, but you're actually helping them get better. I think that's huge.
Yeah, I never did that anywhere else. And the original goal was that I believe that we all have things that we can teach each other, even if someone's a junior, that they can teach the rest of us. It's a hack, you know, give us a hack. Like, what's your hack? But it's been interesting how reticent people are to teach. They get embarrassed, like they don't have anything good to bring to the table. So it's turned it into like pulling teeth to get other people to actually teach and lead. But still everyone shows up. So
oh my gosh, I love it. I think that's so cool because it's also going to help just the culture get better.
Yeah, I think it is important for that.
I love that. Julie, where can people find more about you if they want to, you know, work with you, hire you as a mentor? I mean, you'd be a great mentor. I don't know if you do that, but how can people learn more about you?
Sure. Yes. I used to be a copy mentor, but right now, you know, my time is like a negative time right now. Maybe someday again. But I have a website. It's wonderhuntercopy.com. So it's a weird website. It's like I threw it together on Wix years ago. So don't expect any like great shakes, but that's me. It's and then on LinkedIn, you can find me on LinkedIn as well. Julie Hassett. I'm not really active on many social networks posting about copy and marketing or anything like that. So those are the best places.
Cool. Well, hey, thank you so much. Again, I just want to be respectful to your time. I know you're busy with the CopyChief. So,
Yeah, all good, all good.
so thank you again. I really appreciate you coming on. This was super
Yeah.
valuable.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. Take care.
Bye.